What's going on, guys? Let's go ahead and jump straight into today's topics. I know you guys are dying to hear what I have to say. But anyways, shout out to the Discord. If you're not in the Discord and you watch this channel, I would highly recommend just popping into our Discord. It's in the link below. And the Discord gave me some topic ideas today, so let's go ahead and jump straight into it. So first off, I want to talk about Modern and touch base on what I think is going on with Modern cards right now from Sword and Shield era or Sun and Moon and Scarlet and Violet. You know, these were super hyped up. People were spending hundreds of dollars on alt arts that were previously just $100 or $200, $300 max. You know, had jumped double, triple to what they were, and now they've kind of retraced a good bit. But it makes me wonder, you know, the prices seem somewhat stable. I don't see listings flooding the market for certain cards. I actually think that it's somewhat drying up right now. And I think that the prices may even rise back again, right? I don't like pumping anything. I don't want to inflate anything. I don't want to influence people to make the wrong decisions. I'm just kind of calling it how I see it. And I feel like right now I am going to miss my chance to buy a lot of these cards at some of the best prices by not buying right now. And, you know, it's tough to say that, you know, prices could actually fall further in another couple months or a year when kind of the hype settles and we've got a new era that people are focusing on. At the same time, people might not like the newer era as we move into the next generation of Pokemon, and then, you know, they revert back to these older cards and spend more money on them. So we could see Sword and Shield cards. It would be hard to believe because, you know, Sun and Moon is much lower pop than Sword and Shield. There's way less of those cards in PSA 10 than there are Sword and Shield PSA 10 cards, alt arts. But I can see it happening. I can see people reverting back to Sword and Shield once, you know, the new generation comes out and people are, you know, investing and buying into and opening all the new stuff. They might want to go back. And at that time, that's when the prices are really going to spike for Sword and Shield alt arts, I think. And I think right now, the prices are just settled. The dust is settled. So I think could be worth maybe taking a look at some of the alt arts right now. I know one that I was looking at today was the Beedrill V and the Rayquaza V, both in PSA 10 alt arts. I still don't have those two. I really want those two, as well as Glaceon V and Glaceon V and I'm forgetting the other one I'm missing. But anyways, I'm looking at those because I'm like, I don't know, the price seems to be pretty stalled out right now. It seems kind of stagnant. So I feel like right now could be a really good time to buy. In general, I think because there's so much focus on sealed product right now, and there's so much focus on vintage right now, I think it's, you know, the obvious play is to look at the thing that is the least appreciated. And I gotta say, Scarlet and Violet singles that are cheap right now and abundant, you know, that's, you know, the supply is heavy. They printed way more than they probably needed to print in Scarlet and Violet era. So I feel like it's gonna take some time for those to actually, like, in reality, go up in value. But yeah, you know, we have to buy this stuff and kind of use our best judgment for the most part. The facts are that Scarlet and Violet was printed way heavier than Sword and Shield. So there's no reason that it should, you know, explode in price the way that Sword and Shield did. What I will say, especially for the illustration rares, is that those, you know, you see way lower, you know, PSA 10 population on the illustration rares than you do some of the SIRs and the alt arts from Sword and Shield. So, you know, putting those in their own category, the illustration rares from Scarlet and Violet, those in PSA 10 could be maybe a good time to be buying those right now. The dust has settled a little bit on those as well, and there's going to be a lot more of those coming to market. But the PSA 10 population relative to Sword and Shield is still much lower. So yeah, could be a good time to buy into Modern again right now. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It's hard to know. But I just have a gut feeling that like right now I should be splurging just a little bit and just picking up some of those final alt art cards that I love so much that are just super affordable right now. Okay, next thing, talking about middlemen. Okay, there's in the private deal world of mainly in what I see, mostly vintage Grail cards, right? There's a lot of middlemen out there, right? And they're creating, a valid, helpful service. They're sourcing and finding, these cards. But they're also highly critiqued by the community in the sense that, like, you guys are trying to, middlemen are trying to bury the lowest price solds, and that they're only talking about the highest price solds. And then there even a lot of these middlemen, and some of the vendors are doing this too. I consider a lot of vendors middlemen as well. They really have no interest on keeping a lot of these cards. They just want to source it. It's 70, 80%, 90%, whatever. And then they want to sell it to you at the highest market sold. So, the middleman dilemma right now is that, a lot of these guys really like, it's this whole, bravado of like the Rolex watches and like having the best, most expensive cards, but only to sell it to the next guy willing to pay more money. So it's really just, there's a lot of flex, and I feel like that there's some toxicity there too, just on Instagram. Everyone, there's a lot of guys, that are middlemaning cards that, kind of just pissing people off, right? People are willing to buy this card, they're willing to pay near market price, and this person, this middleman is the only person that has that card at the time, and they're asking ridiculous numbers. And this is not new. This has been happening for years now. So yeah, middlemen definitely part of the problem in trying to acquire some of these cards, which it's no wonder that eBay auctions are going crazy for vintage cards right now, because that's like your only chance to even get a lot of these cards. And even the eBay auctions, it's kind of BS, because there's show bidding, there's manipulation, there's people putting in bids where they have no intention on paying, which is kind of what show bidding is. But it's just, we're one-upping each other and hurting the community, and, paying these all-time highs for these vintage cards. And I really think that there's going to be some major repercussions, down the line, when I think some of these all-time high vintage card prices, I think they're going to fall. I think they're going to fall, and they're going to come back down. I don't know how much. I don't know if it'll be 10, 20%. I don't think it's going to be a massive, 50% drop, because people are stubborn. And the reality is, a lot of people, even when the market goes down, a lot of people are just not going to sell for a loss. So that is a huge dilemma in Pokemon moving forward, why prices will likely continue to rise long term, because people are just not going to sell for a loss. They're only going to sell to the next guy that is going to make them whole again. So, you see these prices rising, but you also see, the people that are middlemaning cards, this kind of goes back to the middleman problem. The people middlemaning these cards, they see the same card they're selling is going for less in auction, and then they bid that card up. And I have seen this, and I'm not going to call out names, but I know exactly, I know people, based on people's feedback numbers. I actually follow a couple high-end card collectors, and I see their feedback numbers, the exact feedback numbers they have, which I know, Orion, that's super speculative. You can't possibly know who's bidding on auctions, on all these auctions, but I'm pretty confident that it's the same guys that are continuously bidding on this stuff, trying to raise the market, right? It is a money game for them. It is a stock market for them, and they're trying to manipulate it to their benefit. So that is a very real issue that I feel like a lot of newcomers, a lot of new collectors, they don't realize what's going on beneath the surface. Pokemon is getting a lot more complex. This market's getting a lot rowdier, a lot more hectic, and there's more and more fraud, scamming, unethical behavior. There's people privately dealing that, owe other people money in the community and just haven't paid it. So people are just screwed. And guys, if you do buy privately, be very, very careful who you are buying from, who you are dealing with, or who you're selling to, because you need to vet them. You need to make sure they have references, because all the time I see people getting ripped off doing private deals. And it didn't used to be that way, but it's definitely getting more out of hand now, more than ever. People are greedier, they're more aggressive. I mean, you guys have seen all the scalping and all the BS, and that leads us into our last portion of this video. I do have to try and keep this one shorter today, because I gotta hang out with the family and do some stuff today. We have some errands to run. But another thing that was added in the Discord is a recent memo from GameStop. It is a letter from GameStop. I'm not going to put it in here. I'm not going to edit the video today. But there's a letter that you can probably easily find. It's in our Discord. So if you want to pop the Discord, you can find it. It's a whole letter that GameStop writes out, kind of, you know, saluting to collectors and saying, like, we see you guys camping out. We see you with the grills, you know, making food for everybody, and how this community is so amazing and they care about each other. And at the same time saying that people are being irresponsible by taking days off of work to wait in line on a Wednesday for a Friday release for the Prismatic Premium Collection, whatever bullshit. Like, oh my fucking God, what's wrong with people? Like, now is not the time to be camping out. It's not, unless you're a scalper, it's not the time to be camping out. Right now is the time to be taking a seat back. And I always joke about, like, we should boycott Pokemon. I am, as someone said, the king of saying we should boycott Pokemon in times like this. But I just think it's super unnecessary that anybody, you know, should have to sit out like that to get some fucking Pokemon cards. It's ridiculous, guys. This behavior is, it's egregious. And the fact that GameStop, in my humble opinion, GameStop is perpetuating the same cycle of madness that has been going on by saying that, like, hey, we salute you guys and we're going to be there for you. You know, it's like they're okay with this. You shouldn't be okay with this. And while camping out in front of the shops used to be a thing, like back in my day, camping out before the Halo 3 release was a grand thing. But everybody was going to get it. Everybody got their cut, you know? Like, there was enough to go around. Now, there'll be 10 boxes at GameStop, and there'll be 50 people lined up out the door. Come on. We're in a really sad, pathetic time in Pokemon in a lot of ways, and there's drama and, you know, toxic behavior and content that's becoming redundant, and just, it's a bad look right now for Pokemon. And I'm not happy with how GameStop, you know, they see that this is an issue. They see this as an issue, and they're still saying, like, but we're here for you. We're here for you. No, just stop doing releases this way. You know, I don't know how to solve this problem. I don't know what the solution is going to be. You know, they did pre-orders and that became an issue, and people at GameStop were taking the pre-orders and that became a whole thing. I honestly feel like maybe pre-orders are a good way to go back to, so that people can ahead of time say, hey, I'm going to put down a pre-order, I want to buy this, but limit their pre-orders to 1 or 2 products for the pre-order. Pokemon Company, I guess, is so overwhelmed right now that no matter how much they're printing and stocking the shelves, it's really hard for me to believe, guys. You know, the capability of them to print so much to meet demand, it's really hard for me to believe that just they can't do it. I feel like they're still half-assing, you know, trying to meet demand. And I don't know. Maybe it's not Pokemon's fault. Maybe we are all the problem, but I genuinely just feel like Pokemon is not doing enough, and we need to hold them accountable. And we also need to hold places like GameStop accountable for, like, saying that this is normal, okay behavior to be parked out, camped out of these places for this long. And then recently, you know, you have people fighting. This is not new. People have been fighting over product and punching each other in the face for boxes of whatever since, you know, I don't know, 6 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, or maybe it was 3 or 4 months ago that things got really out of hand, and then people were doing karate kicks to get Pokemon 151 from Costco. But for the most part, this is not new behavior. It's just got really, really out of hand. Up to a point where, that stuff's happening at GameStop. They just released that letter, and like people are tenting. People are putting tents up in front of GameStop stores. And I don't know, maybe that's a beautiful thing. Maybe you guys will disagree with me. That's okay. Like, these are my fucking opinions. Disagree with me if you want to, or just chime in and contribute to the discussion. But I don't know, maybe there's a beauty in the fact that people are camping out waiting for Pokemon cards. It could be a father-son adventure, but oftentimes it's not. It's people arguing, it's people line cutting, it's viral videos, it's, it's trampling children. Our whole family is sick right now. Asher, our newborn, is stuffy. Aspen, I don't know if it's the allergies this season or what, but just everybody is sick this season, and it's starting to catch up to me. I had one more thing. Okay, the AirTag issue that the Opossum just talked about it in his video. Dude, people are commonly putting AirTags on the cars for the restockers that are going to Walmart or Target or GameStop or whatever, and it's like shameless. It's like, nah, I'm just smart enough to AirTag, where the supply is coming from. We're tracking it. That should be borderline illegal. It should be borderline illegal. And the fact that people admit to doing this and we know they're doing this, they should be in some ways, I think, probably pursued, because it's very borderline stealing. Like, not only that, you're invading someone's privacy by following them around. I think that's really sleazy and kind of pathetic. And there's better ways to go about making money in this hobby than following people around who are stocking the stores and then preventing all of the collectors from even getting product. Scalpers can't even get product right now. That's how bad it is. Scalpers can't even get product because there are, boss level scalpers that are tracking everybody's locations. I mean, it's ridiculous, guys. But yeah, on a lighter note, I do think that right now is probably a decent time to go after some Sword and Shield Alt Art cards that are cheaper. And I'm definitely contemplating getting a few myself. But I'm trying to hold back because I know that I have a really big submission. Well, I have a really big PSA return that's coming back. I'm super excited for that video. I also have a really cool Grail card that is a classic that will be in the mail here any day now. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Getting closer to kind of crossing cards off the list that I've wanted for a long time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think and stay tuned. I'll see you for tomorrow's video. Peace.